All right. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. It is the January 2025 ECEF monthly webinar. Happy New Year, 2025, first one, first webinar together of 2025. And I know many of you have been out on extended vacations, some less time than others, but it's been fun to get to connect with some grantees that we've already had meetings with and gotten to hear a bit about the relaxing or exciting and fun things that people have done over the last part of December. Um, so yeah, glad to have you back. And I know Delk staff, we had some people out too, and people enjoying the holidays or just New Year and taking some time off. So good to be back together. And hopefully 2025 has some good things in store for all of us. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So the agenda for today is slightly shorter than it often is. We were possibly going to have um, not a presentation, but a circling back with the PSU evaluation team to share some feedback and information from the listening session that they did in November when Brandon and I did not attend the webinar, but it turned out they were not able to attend today after all. So we kind of got an additional 20 minutes or so back. So we might end up finishing early and giving you some time back today. And they will join in February, just so that that's on your radar, and share some information from the November listening session that they held. So just wanted to note that part. So we're going to start with a short icebreaker. Then we have some reminders. They'll be quick, and a couple of them are things that we talked about last time at the last webinar, but I think we had less people attending the last webinar because of it being December and it's a busy time for everyone. So wanted to reiterate some pieces that were shared there. Then Brandon will be doing a just brief fiscal check-in, and I'll share a professional development opportunity that's coming up very shortly that I was told about that I just thought I'd pass along. It's virtual, so it's easy to join if you have time in your schedule. And then we'll do some quick updates and brainstorming. And then, as usual, if you would like to stay for questions when we wrap up, like the official things that we're talking about in the webinar, you can stay on and ask questions directed to Brandon or I or both of us. And then, like I said, we might finish early today. Are there any questions about the agenda before we get started? Okay, and I just want to reiterate that there is a Spanish interpreter in the Spanish language channel. So if you would like Spanish interpretation, please find that channel and click on it. It should be in the lower part of your screen. Entonces, si quieren interpretación al español, opriman o seleccionan español en la parte de interpretación abajo en la pantalla. Okay, and Brandon is also putting the sign-in sheet again into the chat so that we make sure to capture your attendance today. So please take a moment while we're here together to fill that out. And we will go ahead and get started so that this is our reminder to put the sign-in in the chat. And that just helps us be able to know who we might need to reach out to if they're not able to have someone attend. And yeah, it just helps with our tracking. And I'm not sure, I am curious, when you fill out the sign-in sheet, can you click send me a copy of my response? Okay, I got a thumbs up. I got 2 thumbs ups. Okay, awesome. Thank you. I'm glad, because then that also helps with your records as well, so you can see what months you may have missed or you had someone attend. Okay, that's great. All right. So for our icebreaker today, I wanted to ask, what is something that you're looking forward to in 2025? So it's very broad. It could be anything. It could be personal life, work life, um, could even just be making it through the year, whatever, whatever comes to mind. It could be a goal or a trip you're going on, um, anything you'd like to share. So, if you would write your responses in the chat, that would be great. And then, as always, I'd love if anyone would like to share out loud with the group, please just come off mute. You don't have to raise your hand or anything. And Brandon, would you help me like you often do by reading some of the responses in the chat?
Absolutely. Maria is excited about meeting their baby who is due in
Mm.
February. And my almost 18-year-old turns 18 in February. So February is a very good month. Um,
To be born.
and Jeffrey is celebrating his 40th wedding anniversary and getting grants in on grant reports in on time from Kairos PDX. Love to see it. Uh, I'm excited about getting more fluent in my Mandarin. That's one of my goals this year.
Whoa,
So,
I didn't know you spoke Mandarin.
very poorly. That's why I need to get more fluent.
That's a great goal. All
I was
right.
spending my 20th year anniversary with your husband and kids from Kisa and in an island. Ooh, nice. That's a great goal.
Ooh.
I would also like to spend an anniversary on an island, any of them, even if it's just the month anniversary of that month of the year. Uh, yes, new Malala facility all set up.
Well, that's exciting.
Learn more about the new monthly reporting forms. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's something definitely. If there are more people, this is a little side note based on that comment. If there are more people who want to learn more or circle back to review something about the newish, because it was a while ago now, but still pretty new since there hadn't been a change for a while. Um, I am happy to potentially hold another little work session with multiple people, or we can go over it in our individual monthly or bi-monthly check-ins that we have. I also wanted to just reiterate that you can always go to the portal, the ECEF portal, and book a meeting, and you can often get them the same day or the next day because we have gaps in our schedule. And so you can get very quick help and guidance with things like that with the monthly report if you want to go through there and schedule a meeting. So just want to reiterate, we don't get a lot of bookings through the portal, and it's a great way to do it because then we don't have the back and forth of trying to align our schedules. You can just click on what's already available. All right, go ahead, Brandon.
I'm totally envious of Sakia, who is getting to go to Alaska. And also, their
Ooh,
birthday is next Wednesday. But I also want to go dog sledding. That sounds
whoa,
way fun.
that's
Uh,
amazing,
oh,
Zakia.
a new location in Multnomah County. Rad. Get it. And then Gabriella is going to Honolulu to visit family and celebrating a 10-year anniversary. Ooh, nice. And also, yeah, cruises. Give me a traveling hotel with food. 10 out of 10.
Yes.
Traveling with family for Annabelle. And Brandy is looking forward to Nea's new um center opening, hopefully in September of this year. And then Diana
Um,
going to the home visiting summit in Washington, D.C. Ooh, if you go, I definitely want to hear about it. That's exciting. And
Lots of awesome things. I love hearing a mix of work-related and personal life sharings for
right.
this upcoming year. Does anyone want to come off
Ooh.
mute and share? It could be something you already shared in the chat that you could share more detail about, or someone who did not put something in the chat.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah, hi
Yes.
Harmony.
Hi, sorry for being a little late to the meeting.
Oh, no problem at
Morning.
all.
I can share what is something
Yeah.
looking forward to in 2025. Honestly, I feel like as a team and as a department over at Self Enhancement Inc., um, I feel like we're just really looking forward to expand upon the current services that we offer while also onboarding and adding to the team. We are in the process of onboarding 2 more staff right now. So we're really excited with solid skill sets. So we're really excited to utilize that and just really allow them to utilize their skill sets to pour into the services that we currently offer. So we're looking forward to seeing more of that and then just
Mhm.
doing more events in the community. Like in the past years, we've done a lot of events at our facilities, both our Kirby location and then our location off of Columbia. But we're looking to branch out more in East County because most of our families live out there. So we want to make it more local.
Mhm.
And instead of always having them come our way, like we want to be able to meet our families where they're at. So
Yeah.
we want to go out into that area as well and explore more there. It'll probably take place during spring and summer as the weather gets nicer,
Mhm.
for a better attendance rate. But we're really looking forward to doing more of that and just expanding upon the current things that we already have in place.
Nice.
Wonderful. Thank you, Harmony. I love all that detail and excited for the new staff that you're hiring and
Thank
um
you.
yeah, and trying to meet the community like closer to where they are. And I think um the idea of doing things outside, like because you said waiting a little bit until the weather's a bit nicer. I
Yeah.
imagine you would be thinking of doing some like open park kind of events and
Yes.
things like that. So
Mhm.
yeah, I've really enjoyed that in the past when I've done similar work in community. So that's
Yeah.
super fun opportunity when the weather gets better that people
Yes.
actually want to leave their house. So
That part. It's a valid piece.
thank you. Would anyone else like to share? And if you see movement behind me, I have various animals in my apartment with me. So um, there's nothing weird going on behind me. It's just a cat. I just saw it in my background. So okay. Well, it seems like yeah, we're wrapping up the icebreaker portion. Thanks, Harmony, for sharing, and the rest of you for sharing in the chat. It's always great to learn more about you and what you're thinking about, what you're focused on. So we'll move on to the next slide. So this, I think, is the third time we're doing this reminder. As I was making the slideshow, I wanted to just leave it in there because it doesn't hurt to reiterate it briefly. So we do have a new day and time for the ECEF social hours, which are the office hours. They're on the fourth Wednesday of each month from 3 to 4:30. Historically, we've had very few people joining the office hours, and so we thought a shift in time might be beneficial just to try something new. And it was on, I believe it was on a Monday before, and it often fell on a holiday. Many months during the year, it kept getting tripped up, and then we wouldn't meet. So, um, we adjusted it, and we hope that we'll get to see some of you there. It's a great time to connect with one another, connect with us, and ask any questions. Like if you're not wanting to deal with scheduling a separate meeting with us, it's a good just standing meeting. And often it's just us, so you might get us all to yourselves and get to ask whatever detailed questions you'd like, or we can coach you through things like the monthly report if there's any hiccups and things like that. So please don't hesitate to join. The link is in the ECEF portal towards the top. So, and I think if there's anyone that doesn't have a link to the ECEF portal, please write that in the chat and maybe Brandon can copy and paste the link to the portal. Or I can send it out again in an email. I think we often link it in emails, but sometimes there's new staff, so they might not have had the link passed along to them.
Yeah, it's also a great time if you just want to talk about like new studies that have come out around mental health or anything that's kind of affecting your organization,
Mhm.
good or bad, a good place to just kind of check in. If you want to practice Mandarin with me, or no, I expect everybody to learn Mandarin this year, so
Yeah,
that way I have
that's
buddies.
that's Brandon's goal, so that we all learn it.
But no, it's just a really good time to check in and connect, and um fiscal questions as well. So if there's any questions around um budgets or um cost allocation plans or anything, we can definitely throw it in there because it's a nice hour and a half time where we are just available for really whatever comes to your brain. So
Sweet. And then also I just wanted to remind everyone that the link to these webinars is also on the ECEF portal, because mentioning again that for whatever reason, Zoom has just decided to be unfriendly. And even though I've canceled the old previous meetings, some people are still finding that link on their calendar, but it doesn't exist for me anymore. So I can't, there's nothing on my end I can do to delete it on your end. And I'm not sure why it doesn't delete automatically. So I still often get last minute emails saying like, I can't get into the webinar, but they have the old link. So just want to make sure everyone is very clear that you can just go to the portal, click the link, and you'll join automatically. So a good way to do that is just you could put your own reminder on this, so it's the second Wednesday of the month at 11, and you could just say like, join the ECEF webinar, and then you can go to the portal or copy the link from the portal as well. Because yeah, Zoom has been funky with their invites. And that's one other piece I didn't write on this slide, but I wanted to mention that Brandon and I have talked about moving, as much as possible, moving our individual check-ins with grantees over to using Microsoft Teams, as long as that works with your system that you use within your agency. One thing that we've realized is, since I am the host of, like, I'm the owner of all of the check-ins, if I'm sick or there's an emergency, Brandon can't open the meetings. Zoom is really limiting to like the one person that's the host has to be the one to start the meeting. And so that has caused some hiccups when I have had to be out, and then we have to cancel meetings when really Brandon could have still led the meetings with grantees. So that's something that I don't think will change before the end of this biennium, but we will likely be asking before the next cycle starts. We'll be asking grantees to let us know who needs to use Zoom, and then for everyone else, we will automatically use Teams as our default for our individual check-ins. So just wanted to flag that so that you know that that's what we're planning on, to eliminate some glitches that we've been experiencing in the Zoom world. Okay, so moving on to, oh, first I'll pause. Are there any questions about what I just shared or clarifications? And Brandon, also, I don't know if anyone's putting questions in the chat, but just let me know if you do see any come in.
yeah, there's a couple that they don't have a link to the webinar.
Okay.
So we'll definitely be putting, and Heather also said thanks for putting the link for the portal in. So we'll be throwing that in here so that way you have it, because the webinar link is also on there.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and so I wanted to, we talked about the equity plan in December's webinar, but again, we had less people attend in December because of just the chaos of that time of year. So I just want to put this slide in here again and talk about it briefly. So in your grant agreements, the equity plan was listed as like an annual deliverable. And it's been a learning experience for me, like it's a newer thing to Delk, that they have asked all grantees who receive money from Delk to do, to create an equity plan for their agency. And so for the second year, I had to kind of figure out with my colleagues what that looks like. What are we asking for in the second year? And so after seeking that clarification, I wanted to clarify that we are not asking for you to recreate or redo an equity plan. What we would love is if you could spend some time reviewing what you submitted, reflecting, making any updates. If you have updates towards goals that you had outlined in your plan originally, or you could write at the bottom just a little, not addendum, but little paragraph reflecting on like anything related to the plan and its how it may have been used or influenced your work within the past year. So I know it's a little bit vague, but basically we're very flexible on what that looks like. We basically want it to be an opportunity to just revisit it and reflect, edit, update to whatever extent makes sense for you and your agency. And I just wanted to let you know that multiple people have reached out to say that they have not, they can't locate the equity plan that they submitted. And so I I have had to do some digging for a couple of them and talk to our data team. So we hadn't, one issue I just want to highlight is that our tracker was showing that they were submitted if there was an extension plan submitted. And so we're finding that there might be one or two grantees who we don't have record of them submitting a plan. We have record of them submitting an extension for the plan. And so that's why it's taken a little while to get back to everyone about the information for their request. So I just wanted to mention that part. So I know since it was a year ago, if you submitted the plan, you might not know exactly where that document is living. And so I want to support by sending the plan back to you for you to do your kind of look through and revision. And so please, if you do need that, please send me an email. And like I said, I've already heard from a few grantees, and don't worry, I have not forgotten about those of you who I have not been able to send it back to yet. So let's see, just looking at the slide to see if there was anything else. Oh, yeah, so just to reiterate, the guiding template that you could use for to kind of frame your equity plan is on the ECEF portal also. So I know I'm referencing the portal a lot. There's a lot of information on there. And so if you want to take a look at the template, just to help refresh your mind and on like what the thought was around the equity plan, or if you want to shift how you had built it last time, if you're making significant changes, then the guide or example of a template of an equity plan could be helpful if you wanted to take a look. And so technically in your grant agreements, it was due on December 31st and of 2024, so just like a weekish ago. And I'm not really sure how it got written in there to be due like right between two holidays at the end of a year transition. I would do that very differently moving forward. So I'm mentioning that because we are very flexible about the delivery date of anything of your equity plan revisions or document that you submit. And we also have on the portal an extension request that you can request an extension to have more time to work on your plan. We have received some already, but not many. And part of that is because I didn't really bring it to the forefront and on the radar until December at the webinar. So again, for many reasons, we are flexible with the due date. We just want to make sure that you know the details and what we're hoping for. And I don't think I've ever gotten an extension request that I haven't approved. So yeah, no pressure to do it quickly, and check in with us if you need any additional support. And I did see a hand raised by Heather.
I think you answered it, but I submitted ours before I went on our break, and I'm assuming I got just in the way that was explained at the December meeting. So I just did an update. I'm assuming I got a receipt for that type of, I usually do.
Yeah.
But I just wanted you to know just in case. But then you
Yes.
said you had received some, because I'm like, oh yeah, I did that.
Yes.
So
Yep, I have received a few, not many, but again,
it
that's
was
to be
timely.
expected based on my timeline of circling back with everyone about it, and the time of year. So I'm not worried about it. And that's partly why I'm covering it again at this month's webinar, just so that I make sure to reach everyone that I can about
Okay.
it.
Well,
Um,
certainly let us know if you didn't receive ours, but it should be in there. And I
yes,
think I got a receipt for it. So,
yes.
well, thank you.
I remember it coming through.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions on that before we move forward? It's also something that if you want to talk about it more in depth, that would be good in an individual meeting with us. So if we have a standing meeting, we could talk about it there. Or if you'd like to schedule a meeting with us, you could do so through the portal or just reach out via email. Okay. All right, so I'm moving on. We can, if a question occurs to you later, you can stay on at the end and ask at that point. But for now, we'll move on and I'll pass it to Brandon.
Woohoo. All right. So as this lovely little circle says, 15% admin fee. As we come to the close of this biennium, I realize we are a couple months out of June 30th, but want to check in and remind everybody that per your grant agreement, the non-tribal admin fees are 15% max. So that is overarching. So I know some of you have had a few that have come in that are like over the 15%. So I'm just going to be sending out emails if your agency is 13% or higher, just so that way it's on your radar. Some of you guys have a flat fee, so it's just going to be whatever it is through the end because of how you submit your claims and expenditure reports. But just really want to do a check-in with y'all so that way you know what's coming, and that way you're not surprised. If you're under 15%, it's just really more of a mental check-in. If you're over that 15%, really you'll need to work with your finance team. I'm happy to also chat about what that'll look like in the next couple of months to make sure that your admin fee over the biennium is on 15% or under. Any questions about what that looks like?
No questions, but yeah, please let us know if that's ours, because they're located in another space.
Absolutely.
And we don't necessarily see or are triggered into what exactly when it's submitted. So
Right.
happy to communicate, because we meet regularly with them, and it happens. So
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of times it's just the way that, like, I know that I have a couple that I've already talked to, not for this grant, but that are like 17, but just because of the fact that they had some higher admin fees at the first part of the biennium, and now they're
Oh.
doing zeros. So like, really, it's just a
Right.
mental, more of like a good mental check-in for the grantees that are either over that threshold or near it, that making sure that they have that either course correction conversation or it's already part of their plan.
Yeah.
And because I just don't want to get to the end of the biennium and you guys spend all your money down and then I have to request money back for admin fee. That
Right.
seems not like a fun time for me.
I'll just
Or you.
remind ours in our meetings that they have the budgets, all of
Right.
that. I'm sure I'm not alone on this call with this, but just, it's great to have the reminder.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
yeah, so like I mentioned too, don't be alarmed. I am sending it for 13% and above, just so that way, because I also know that some agencies save their admin fees till the end, like based on other things. So really, it's just really a check-in. If you're over the 15% and you want to make a meeting with me, you absolutely can. I'm not requiring an extra meeting if you're over it. I trust in your agency's ability to course correct if necessary. If you have questions on how or what needs to happen, I'm also happy to have that conversation. So that, and then the very easy conversation of that is all I had. Ta-da, done. That's finance.
Are there any questions for Brandon before we move on? Okay. All right. So that brings us to the webinar, the online webinar that I was told about that is happening next week. And apparently it's on Eastern time. So be sure to pay attention to that because we are not. Um, and I thought it would be something that potentially some of our grantees might be interested in. And so it's put on by the Children's Literacy Initiative, and it is called Equitable Literacy Instruction, Ensuring the Science of Reading Works for All Children. And the little description that they had below said it will be a conversation with experts in the field discussing some of the misunderstandings about the science of reading and exploring how to ensure equity and culturally sustaining practices are integrated into implementation and instruction. So
Yeah.
I thought,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Emma.
oh, no, you go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and this is actually one of our birth through 5 grantees. So this is part of that funding. So this is a great opportunity to see kind of what that funding, like how other orgs, because I know some of you are also receiving that, like what they're doing, but also a great option or opportunity for your staff as well.
Yeah. So I had put in there because I realized when we share links in the slides, you can't click them because we're sharing our screen. So I put in there that I'll send it out via email after our webinar, and I definitely can. However, I'm thinking maybe Brandon can also click the link and then paste, like go to the web page and then paste it into the chat in case then that way you have the link. Basically, the link isn't to join the webinar, it'll give you a list of options to register. So it's like the direct registration link. Brandon, do you think you can do that? Did you hear that part?
Yeah, I can
Okay,
absolutely do that.
awesome. Thank you. So yeah, just wanted to share that. Obviously, it is not mandatory that you go. I just thought it was a neat opportunity. And as Brandon said, it is one of our grantees that is receiving the one-time birth through 5 funding. And this is one of the things that they're doing with the funding is hosting a professional development opportunity around language and equity and culturally sustaining practices. So thought I would share. I'll move to really this is the last piece of the webinar today. Just wanted to give a very general update about the, even though it's only January, we're still nearing the end of this grant cycle of this biennium. And so I've gotten some questions from grantees at our check-ins about like what's in the works, what can they expect for the upcoming end of the biennium and in terms of next year's grant and grant agreements and all of that. So I just wanted to basically in a more general way say that so we won't be opening a new RFA or anything for Equity Fund for this next grant year. We will be doing what you have been accustomed to doing in the past, which is filling out a continuation survey. And I'm working with Dana Castano, who I think most of you know, to kind of assess what was in the survey last year, what things we could adjust a little bit, and then get that sent out to you as soon as we can. So a goal for me this year is to do it through Smartsheets so that it's a more easily trackable document on our end. We're trying to do more things through our Smartsheet forms rather than like a PDF or a Word document moving forward. So yeah, so it will be likely in the next, I hesitate to give a time frame, but probably within the next month or two, we will have the continuation survey solidified, possibly sooner. And we're still talking about details for next year's or for the next grant cycle. But the plan is to do another 2-year biennium for the Equity Fund grant. I think I have a meeting with there's a change in my supervisor, and so she's transitioning out. But I am meeting with her before she leaves to talk about the transition into the new biennium and all the steps that we need to ensure take place. So, yeah, wanted to share that with you. If there are any questions, go ahead and ask. I don't know that I will have an answer, but I will jot them down and look into them the best that I can. And this is an evolving thing, so I just wanted to share where we were currently in the process. So I'll pause in case there are any questions related to that sharing. All right. And Brandon, is there anything you want to add to any of that? Oh, you're muted.
Not on this meeting. I
Okay.
will chat with you about some things afterwards.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So for the last little bit of time, I just thought we would take a moment if anyone would like to share on any of these topics. So I included if there are ideas for topics that you would want to cover in future webinars or like activities you'd like to do together. And then the next one is if anyone would like to do a share out about what their programming, like something exciting that's happened related to their ECEF programming, whether it's an event that was held or an expansion or a change. I know a couple people or someone shared at our brain, oh my gosh, not brainstorming, icebreaker at the beginning of the meeting. And so I thought I'd give opportunity for that as well, if anyone just wants to share anything out. And then if anyone has questions that they want to pose to other grantees about that could help inform their work. And that's something that we could also do in like a breakout session in an upcoming webinar. But just thought I'd put it down for today in case anyone just had something that they were wondering, like how other grantees approach certain things or a question around data collection, really anything of that nature. Harmony, I see your hand up.
Okay, can you hear me okay? There we go.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So something that the team and I have been talking about a lot, along with Marlo and myself, is this is for the first one, topics for future webinars. If we could be provided with like more webinars to support our parents from a literacy standpoint, support our parents who have children on the spectrum. It's especially if that's something their first, like this is a first time experience for them. Like we notice that our parents are very overwhelmed. It can be very depowering. And we want to empower them to be able to feel confident enough to advocate on behalf of their children inside of classroom settings. So we just want to know like if there's any webinars specifically that dive into how we could better support our parents with children on the spectrum from a literacy standpoint.
That's great. Yeah, I will keep my eyes peeled and I can talk to colleagues to see what opportunities they might know of that they're sharing with their grantees, and I'll, yeah, see what resources I can tap into. That's a great, like, specific request that I think would be beneficial because I know a lot of grantees
Yeah.
work with families with children on the spectrum. So yeah,
Thank you.
thanks, Harmony.
Yeah, and Harmony, if you didn't see the chat, Shauna shared that Fact Oregon has some great trainings for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Shauna. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share, brainstorm with any of the, and it doesn't have to be one of the 3 areas that I listed down there, but kind of free space to share or ask questions. This kind of segues into our closing where you can ask questions. So does anyone have anything exciting or like a fun event that they did maybe in the last couple months that they'd want to just share that success about, or a challenge that you've encountered?
South Lane is just, has hit the ground running with our early literacy. We are excited to start coaching with the Children's Institute around best practices that we're hoping to then bring in and implement. So that work starts, we're just signing their MOU. And we're part of our grant is working with our friends at the library. They are an interview away, as I understand, from hiring our coordinator officially, so that those talks happened over the break. So all of it's just gelling nicely. It'll be a sprint from now to June, but it is, we've laid all of the groundwork, and so now we're actually starting the implementation and the coaching, which is exciting. So
Yay, that's really exciting.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing that update with everyone.
Oh,
I don't know who was first. There's Kesia and Kamisha.
don't know. Okay, I'll be quick.
Okay.
I was just
You don't have to
have
be
a
quick.
question.
Yeah.
I have a question. Does anybody know of a coach to work with facilitators or teachers to improve on their early learning, childhood coaching, like some techniques, some any type of, like thing that could be helpful with working with families and kids?
Like a coach, you're asking fellow grantees about a coach for like staff, right?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
that has to do with the child, like early learning childhood. That we could use. If anybody knows, if they can add some information on the chat, or you can email me.
Where are you located?
Central Oregon. Oh,
Oh.
and if it's in Spanish, even better. If anybody knows anybody who does that type of work in Spanish, Central Oregon.
We have our own in-house one, but we're not in Central Oregon. But you might be able to reach out to like early interventions in your area. And a lot of them have coaches that can either go out to like private childcare facilities or your own group and like assist you. Because we've used like early interventions at our playgroups before, where we've had them come in and then they watch the families interact and then give us how to handle behavioral issues and other things. So that could be a good resource for you.
Thank you.
And maybe if you wanted to put your email in the chat, in case, it's up to you if you want everyone to have it or not. But then if someone thinks of a resource or connection, they could have your email to let you know.
We'll do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Amisha.
Yeah, similarly to what other folks have been asking about, the ORCHWA, the Oregon Community Health Workers Association, we are looking to provide training to our CEW partners this coming spring. And there are a couple topic areas that we're still trying to find trainers, facilitators, subject matter experts that can provide training to a very culturally diverse program of community education workers. Some of the topics that I'm particularly looking for right now is speech development and how that ties into ASQ screenings. And then decolonizing parenting is one that we like to do as much as possible. And then children's use of screen time and digital literacy. So those are some topics that we've been having some more barriers in terms of finding folks, but I was hoping to leverage the expertise in this room. If anyone knows of anyone and could send over any recommendations or some introduction emails, I put my email in the chat, Kamisha@orchwa.org. I also want to mention that Fact Oregon and Swindells at Providence have previously provided training to the CEW program in the past, and they're really phenomenal and great to work with. So highly recommend reaching out to them too.
I put Swindell's link in the chat too.
Great. I love the networking that's happening and questions for other grantees to share resources and information. So that's great, Kamisha. And I'm glad you put your email in the chat so that folks can reach out to you. Does anyone have anything they'd want to come off mute and respond to either of those kind of requests for information?
Dr. Amy, not early literacy focused, but it is very nice, trauma-informed care, kind of behavior response focused. And a lot of my OPK folks have utilized her to help with like the pyramid model, not with, to like work adjacently with. So she's another really good one. It's kind of a really fun mix of collaborative problem solving with trauma informed, like scaffolded in a lot more effectively as well. So, and she's here locally in Oregon and she travels to sites.
Great. Brandon, could you put that in the chat by chance? I'm not monitoring the chat, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I'll look her up. I don't know if I have. Yeah, I'll throw it in there. I'll find it.
Okay.
Or if I can't find it, I'll get it. So that way when you send out the email, that information's in there.
Okay. Wonderful. Anything else that's on anyone's radar that you'd like to share, ask, or suggest?
I had a question to the group if anybody had a resource for community health worker training. I have a couple employees who would really like to be like certified in it for their home visiting, and I haven't been able to find any specific training on it.
Yeah, the Oregon Community Health Workers workers training. We will be offering a foundational CHW training this spring. So I'll put our link in the chat. There's also Neon, the Northeast Oregon Network. They also offer foundational CHW training. So I'll add both of those.
Thank you.
All right.
And I was able to
oh,
find Dr. Amy's website, so you can read more about it and if it fits your model. And that.
Great. Thank you. You're quick. And Brandon, were you able to go to that link to register for the training and then
I was going to pop in when this kind of was done. You didn't share the link for the webinar, so I don't actually have it.
Oh, you don't have it. Okay, I will just send it out to everyone afterwards. Or because it doesn't let me when I'm in screen sharing mode actually click into my presentation. So that makes it a little tricky, but I'll send out an email. It'll be today, and it won't be with the full slide deck because I need to have it translated first. But it'll just go out to everyone with the professional development opportunity. Since it's next week, I don't want a delay in getting that to you. All right. Okay, so we actually did go basically until our end time. So our goal is to end by noon when we have our webinars, and then the last 15 minutes, if folks have questions, you can stay and ask any questions that you might have pending that we could help talk through before everyone signs off. So typically what we do at this point, I'll stop recording in a moment, and then whoever would like to stay and has questions, you can stay, and everyone else can sign off. So thank you so much for being here today. Hopefully you know, you're having a good start to your new year and found some information useful that was shared at the webinar, and I enjoyed the part of getting to hear from grantees about questions you might have and getting to ask each other for some resources. And I am happy also I'll have to rewatch the end of the recording to because I wasn't able to jot down the questions during the webinar, but then I will also look into some of the questions that were posed to see what I might be able to find resource and connection wise for what your wonderings were. So yeah, thank you all so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and those who want to stay, go ahead and stay for questions. We'll see you soon.
Did he